we pick up intuitive information in so many different ways. Alongside our physical senses, we also have psychic senses that help us to interpret our reality. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Sienna here with a brand new video, and today we are talking about the Clairs. Now, Clair means clear. So when you hear words like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, it actually just means clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling. The first one we're going to look at is clairvoyance. This is usually the most well-known of the clairs. It's often portrayed in movies and TV by psychics. When a psychic says that they see something, this is what they mean. Now, clairvoyance uses the third eye chakra to help develop images in the mind. People with strong clairvoyance will usually see images in their mind's eye during meditation or during psychic readings, whether they are the practitioner or the client. Now, some people have claimed to see with their actual eyes spirits or other types of beings, but most of the time it's just in the mind. Most people with strong clairvoyance tend to have vivid or lucid dreams at night. Now, what is the difference between clairvoyance and your imagination? Well, okay, people who do have strong and vivid imaginations do tend to be highly clairvoyant. All right, we'll give it that. But with clairvoyance, usually spirit injects imagery into your mind that you maybe wouldn't have even thought of before. And this is why sometimes psychics get surprised by the images that they see in their mind's eye that comes up during a reading. Oftentimes, alongside clairvoyance, a psychic will have a clear knowing, claircognizance, that the images they're seeing are from spirit, in fact, and aren't made up by the brain. Or they'll just have a strong feeling, clairsentience, that what they're seeing was brought to them by spirit. The next one is clairaudience, clear hearing. This utilizes the throat chakra, because just like in the physical body, the ears and the throat are connected, the same thing applies to our spiritual body. Our throat chakra, and we have little minor chakras in the ears, are connected. Clairaudience is best described as hearing within the mind. Think about it like reading dialogue in a book, and how it almost seems like you can hear the characters' voices as you read. Clairaudience operates a very similar way. Keep in mind, clairaudience is not meant to be confused with symptoms of psychosis, okay? Some people do clairaudiently really actually hear with their physical ears messages from spirit, but most of the time it's inside of the mind. It might have a similar voice to your inner monologue. It might have a slightly different voice. And now, like I was saying with the symptoms of psychosis, spirit guides and beings worth listening to will never tell you to do something harmful. They will never tell you insulting or horrible things. And they will never tell you anything to purposely make you feel afraid. If you are concerned about your mental health and your well-being, absolutely go to a healthcare professional and get yourself checked out. Psychic channelers rely on their clairaudience to hear and then relay messages from spirit. And like we were talking about with our last point, a difference between clairaudience and your imagination is that usually with clairaudience, you have fully formed sentences, words, or thought forms just injected into the mind faster than your own brain can make it up. That's why sometimes channelers receive a whole bunch of information and then they have to kind of unpack it and put it into English words. Sometimes they can receive parts of a sentence entire sentences or entire trains of thought. So if you hear a message pop into your head and it really does not sound like your inner monologue, or it just doesn't fit in with the rest of your usual thoughts, there's a pretty good chance that it was a spiritual message that you received clairaudiently. Clairsentience is the ability to feel or sense what somebody else is feeling, whether that is physically or emotionally. This psychic sense seems to be more talked about lately, and I think it's because more people seem to be willing to open up spiritually. Now, you may have heard the term empath before. People with strong clairsentience are often referred to as empaths, as they tend to have a strong sense of empathy as a result of this psychic sense, as a result of feeling or getting a sense of what other people are experiencing. Clairsentience uses the heart chakra, the center for feeling, compassion, and caring. I'm going to use somebody as an example, somebody in my personal life, where he knows how I'm feeling generally because he will start to feel the same way. So, for example, if I am extremely tired or feeling really sick, he will start to, out of nowhere, also feel very tired. Even though he might have slept wonderfully and ate enough and drank enough water and is doing everything right physically. Sometimes he can just tell when I need to have a little rest. That's an example of clairsentience, except for him it's more physical than emotional. With me, for example, this was a psychic sense that I used a lot when I looked after little kids, especially babies. Babies don't have the words to describe how they're feeling and what they're going through, unless you teach them a little bit of sign language, but this is beside the point. Sometimes I was able to tell when one of my babies in my care was starting to get a little bit grumpy, was starting to get tired, or was starting to feel pain, teething, and I would kind of get a feeling of this before they even started showing signs of discomfort. It was more often emotionally. I would be able to pick up, okay, this one is a little bit sad right now, and she's going to start crying soon, so I better pick her up and hold her. That's another example of clairsentience, but on the more emotional side. The next sense we're going to look at is claircognizance, clear knowing. This uses the crown chakra. Claircognizance is having a strong inner knowing that something is true, but you don't necessarily know how you know that it's true, if that makes sense. This is a very, very common psychic sense. A lot of people have this without even realizing it. And it goes beyond a gut feeling like you would normally experience with clairsentience. With claircognizance, it's just like you just know. Some people describe it as fully formed thoughts or ideas just plopping into their minds with to them it would seem like no rhyme or reason. With spirit, there's always a reason. But to us, sometimes it does not make sense. Well, what the heck? How do I know this? I shouldn't know this. But yet, you do. That is claircognizance. People with aphantasia, so the inability to see with the mind's eye, can develop their claircognizance instead. So instead of seeing images from spirit or seeing symbols from spirit, they just have an understanding of what it is that spirit's trying to communicate to them, what it is that they should know. So if aphantasia is something that you deal with, don't worry, you can still be psychic, you can still develop your psychic skills. Claircognizance is usually the one that comes in to supplement one's inability to see through their third eye. The last sense on my list is called Clairaudience. And this one is going to be a little bit weird. It's a bit weirder than the rest, but I promise you it is probably the most common but least talked about psychic sense, and that is the, I guess, clairalience, clear smelling, the ability to smell something associated with a loved one in spirit or an angel or another type of guide. And to be more specific, it's smelling something out of nowhere when there is no physical source to that smell. So for example, a lot of people report smelling perfume or cologne or tobacco smoke or other scents associated with a loved one that they had who has since passed away. I used to work with somebody who would, out of nowhere, whenever she was feeling really stressed out, I think, she would just out of nowhere start smelling a certain perfume. And it was a kind that her mom really liked and always wore. And her mom has since passed away and it, is over in the spirit realm. But to her, that was like a confirmation that, hey, I'm with you and I'm here to protect you and I'm here to help you get through this. Some people report smelling certain scents and begin to associate it with a spirit guide. Now, I can't remember where I was reading this, but a lady was kind of talking about her experiences with spirit guides, and she said one of them had kind of like a pine smell, or just a really, really fresh kind of, I think it was pine was the way she described it. Just very fresh and just very natural. And she would smell that out of nowhere, inside her house, or out at the store, or anywhere where it just would not make sense to be smelling a pine tree. And she would feel like warmth and comfort and love from her spirit guides. A lot of people totally gloss over this clairalience and just chalk it up to, oh, that's really weird. I wonder what made that smell. But sometimes it is a form of spiritual communication. So those are the main psychic senses, and that is clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing, clairsentience, clear feeling, claircognizance, clear knowing, and clairalience, clear smelling. Let me know if you have experience with any of these psychic senses, which ones that you use the most, or which ones that you've started developing. I want to know some of your guys' stories regarding your psychic senses, so leave that in the comments for me and other people to look at. This is always fascinating stuff. I love learning about this kind of thing. If you want another video on a topic like this, absolutely let me know. In the meantime, like and subscribe to Sienna Rose Metaphysical. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you again.